Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Captain Marvel #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. I am very excited about this upcoming book. Let's talk about the creative team here before we get into this book. This book will be written by Elisa Wong with art by Jen Basaldua, colors by Brian Valenza, letters by Ariana Mayer, and a plethora of covers that we'll see some at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. So in this issue, highest, furthest, fastest, the captain gets a permanent glow up designed by superstar artist Jen Bartel, and that's not all this change. Brand new look, brand new creative team, brand new status quo. Carol Danvers is one of the powerhouses of the Marvel Universe, a woman capable of harnessing the energy of the sun. So if you're coming for Earth, she's the first one to take you off the board. Someone's figured just out how to do that, and introducing a new supporting cast, new villains, both beloved and dangerously fresh. Elisa Wong and Jen Basildua will have an accelerating series that kicks off right here. Uh, and one of the big reasons I am very excited for this series is for the creative team. I'm a big fan of Elisa Wong's writing. Their Deadpool run that just ended is one of my favorite ones of all time. It just has a really nice mixture of superhero stuff with comedy, some moments that are full of heart, and just really well done relationships, like really well done interpersonal relationships. And of course, Basaldua's art is just fantastic. So I'm very excited. Let's get into looking some of the preview art here. Here's where we see the whole new redesign for Captain Marvel. And as you can see here, full of action. Not a lot of dialogue in this first few pages from the preview, but we also were promised new villains, exciting new additions to the cast. So I can't wait to get into this. Now, I hadn't read the synopsis. I didn't know who had redesigned um, the costume. So I reached out to the team on Twitter. Alyssa Wong responded. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, here we can see the Jen Bartel's kind of officially announcing the redesign and kind of the little thought behind it, which is, I think, always very fun to see how those things kind of happen and come into place. As Jen Bartel mentioned, this is based on a lot of the look for the Hellfire Gala, very similar to that, especially the jacket and things like that. So, kind of spinning off of that. So, as I mentioned, also we have some really really cool variant covers. Of course, Marvel's gonna go all in on Captain Marvel. Hopefully, also on Kamala Khan and Spectrum as we head into the upcoming film. But yeah, let me know when you read this. Let me know what you thought about the issue. Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Hallows Eve #1, The Big Night. This is a new one shot from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Erica Schultz with art by Michael Dowling, Brian Reaver on colors, letters by Joe Caramagna, a beautiful cover by Ben Harvey. Some more variant covers you'll see at the end of the video. Stay tuned for those. In this issue, it's October 31st at ESU, so you know what that means. A Halloween party that won't go as planned, and a bunch of powerless kids will be in a lot of trouble. Hallows Eve, once powerless and once was a victim, now she's anything but. Her magical mask give her the ability, but Eve isn't a hero, or is she? Um, I really like that Erica Schultz has kind of grabbed on to this character and just keeps writing the character, because the voice is it's a singular voice all throughout, really, which I really appreciate. I also think Hallows Eve's power are just so interesting, like with the mask and all the things you can really do and explore. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. As you can see here, some kind of Halloween carnival, where maybe once a year Hallows Eve doesn't really look at a place, but of course shenanigans begin to happen as we go in, and I'm really interested in following to see what is putting on a mask like Captain America's. How will that affect the powers here? So that'll be really interesting to follow along. I think it's a really fun concept of like you have all these superhero masks, why not put one on, and then maybe you can turn into that superhero or maybe use their powers. So we'll see how that plays out. From the cover, you can see that there's a lot of them. That you can see Thanos mask, a Fing Fang Foom, Spider-Man, Werewolf by Night. So yeah, this is gonna be a really interesting one shot. I'll definitely do a follow video or talk about it on our next live. So stay tuned for that. Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. And just in time for Halloween, I'm doing a preview for Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood #1. This is a new anthology book from Marvel Comics. Uh, let's take a look at the premise of this book, then we'll get into the creative teams of each of the stories. An all new era of Marvel Zombies. The undead plague starts here, and you know it won't stop until everyone is in its clutches. The first of four action packed, utterly original, gloriously gory anthology issues featuring Daredevil, Spider Man, and Moon Knight, and many, many more. The Marvel characters, heroes, and villains, beset by ever growing zombie hordes in a brutal, blood-stained world, can hope survive, or will creeping, knowing, shambling, and horror win out at last? Uh, I love these Black, White, and Blood anthologies that Marvel has been doing. I just think the limitation with the color palette really lends itself to the challenge of the creators that take on the task of giving you a story. The art, the coloring team, just putting in those limitations really makes for something really, really fun. So let's take a look at some of the creative teams. So we have three different stories on this one. We have the undefeated story written by Garth Ennis with N. Rachel Stott. We also have Hope by Alex Segura and Javi Fernandez, and Deliverance by Ashley Hallen and Justin Mason. So you're getting a lot of creative teams, and of course we have plenty of covers as well that you'll see some of those at the end of the issue. Let's take a look at some of the preview art here. So this is the first story, Undefeated. This is the Daredevil story, as you can see, full of violence, full of gore. I just love seeing the head coming off of this zombie. It looks like Daredevil may be in some kind of Fight Club like situation, so we'll see what happens with that. We also have the Hope story from Spider-Man by Alex Segura and Javi Fernandez, another hero that lends itself very well to the red tint. Uh, and if you have read Marvel Zombies, you'll know that Spider-Man's probably one of the most tragic figures of that world. So we'll see how this story. I don't think these stories are related to the original series or any of the Marvel Zombies that have come prior. I think these are just little snippets of what would happen in a world like this. So maybe they will turn out to be. I'm not sure. That'll be really fun if they can. Eventually, I'll connect back to the series. Might be a fun time to go back and reread. Lastly, we have Deliverance. We only have one preview page for that, but this is the Moon Knight series. I mean, the Moon Knight story, which is very interesting to see that Khonshu still around, right? He's a god, so obviously all this stuff doesn't really affect him. Very interesting. I did want to comment. So you saw the first issue cover has Wolverine in it, and there's a lot of variant covers as I was looking through. For an issue that doesn't feature Wolverine, there's a lot of Wolverine in a lot of these variants. So I wonder if a lot of these variants were just kind of commissioned at the time, and they let people, go crazy or use whatever characters they wanted, and they kind of fill them in. I don't know. I think that might be interesting to ask an editor or a designer or something like that. But we will definitely talk more about this book once we get a chance to read it. Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for The Amazing Spider-Man #36. This is a new comic from Marvel Comics. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Zeb Wells with art by Ed McGuinness, Mark Farmer on inks, Mario Menez on colors, and letters by Joe Caramagna. Now, I don't normally get into the Spider-Man books. I haven't really been reading. I'm not caught up with the series, but This is the last issue before we start kicking off with some of the gang war stuff. So I wanted to really set this one up and to see what follows. In this issue, Spider-Man has never gone this dark. Now the consequences are unraveled. Will New York ever look at him the same way again? So obviously something big has happened in the world of Spider-Man, and I have no idea what that is. I read the synopsis for the previous issue, and I think it said that it was going to set up the next 24 issues of Spider-Man. So we know the gang war is coming. We know that Care Pack is back from from the last event that we had in the Spider-Man series. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the preview art here. I really like the way Ed McGuinness draws a lot of these characters. Um, Rec Pack or Rec Rap, which is just Parker backwards, who we met in the Chasm event, so that was really fun. The Dark Web and everything kind of came in from one of those spin-off series. But yeah, I really like Ed McGuinness's art. I really love the way he just has like these big, muscly dudes and really bombastic angles, as you can see on the third one. Uh, we also just kind of catch up with Spider-Man, and here's a little bit of context. Dealing with the Goblin Queen and also the mayor, who happens to be Luke Cage at the moment. So yeah, this might be a good jumping on point again for Spider-Man. Maybe the previous issue, I'm not really sure, but I'm definitely going to be checking out Gang War. And I know the next issue is like they'll be kicking off the preludes to Gang War in that crossover in the Spider-Man world. So that should be pretty fun. Bye. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Uncanny Spider-Man number 2. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Cy Sperrier with art by Lee Garbert, colors by Matt Miller, letters by Joe Caramagna. In this issue, the Devil's Horns meet their match. The Rhino's on a rampage again with a different Spidey suit in his sights. Desperate to apprehend the black-clad Bamfer, Orchis is pulling out all the stops. If the Rhino can't put Kurt Warner down, surely Silver Sable and her team of elite mercenaries can. But Kurt isn't just a lawbreaker. In the traditional sense, he's a criminal flirt too. Can Nightcrawler sweet talk his way to this one, or is it lights out for our favorite devil? Um, I really enjoyed the first issue just because of the sheer kind of ridiculous nature of the premise. Like, first of all, Kurt is everything that happened with Fall of X. First of all, then Kurt just kind of needing his own space, leaving everything up to let's just do superhero shenanigans, putting on a Spider-Man costume, and trying to just keep Central Park safe. That was really fun. But here we go, right? Like putting him up against Spider-Man's villains, I think it's fun, a fun premise for sure. And I think Cy Spurrier knows that. So, of course, Lee Garbert's art is fantastic. Just really dynamic art. I love the motion that I mean, when you're drawing Rhino, especially with a really cool redesign for Rhino, I hadn't seen him in a while, so I didn't know what he was supposed to be looking like. And of course, everything's being monitored. But yeah, including Silver Sable here and her team of mercenaries is going to be a big challenge for Kurt. Now, this is all the preview art we have for this one, but we'll definitely talk more about this once we get a chance to read the issue. So stay tuned for that on the channel. If you have read this issue, though, let us know what you thought about it down in the comments. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Captain America number 2. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Jesus Size, Matt Hollingsworth, and colors, letters by Joe Caramagna. In this issue, when Spider-Man interrupts date night to ask for help taking down a Sinister Six latest plot, Captain America begrudgingly obliges. Meanwhile, more and more of Steve's former enemies are being recruited by a mysterious new threat, one seemingly connected to an enemy Steve faced long before he picked up a shield. Uh, so yeah, This book has definitely been giving us a lot of information, specifically on Steve prior to becoming Captain America. There's definitely a lot of exploration of that, which I can't really remember a run that focused so much on those things. But still, I think issue one, I liked it enough that I want to keep checking things out. Usually, I give a new series about 3 issues before I decide whether I'm going to continue to read them. Sometimes I'll decide after the first one to just wait for the trade because it feels better that way. But this is one of the ones that I think I need to check out a couple more issues before making my final decision. So let's take a look at some of the preview art. Jesus Sai is just really doing his best to bring this world to life, and I'm really enjoying that piece of it for sure. You get to see here the differences and how Spider-Man kind of shows up, but you get to see little Steve versus current Steve as Captain America. So interesting that Spider-Man goes to help for Captain America. I mean, I think that's always a cool team up, and I do like to see characters kind of team up out of nowhere because it does make sense. They all kind of live in the same area, right? There's so many heroes in New York that it it just beckons like for them to work together. So hello everyone, they're here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Predator versus Wolverine #2. This is a new book from Marvel Comics and 20th Century Studios. This is written by Benjamin Percy with art by Ken Lashley and Andrea DeVito. So we have multiple artists on this book. Uh, this first issue was a lot of fun. I think Benjamin Percy is the perfect writer. I might have mentioned this on my previous review or discussion of this video of this series, but yeah, the Predator and Wolverine going at it. Just some of the coolest stuff around. In this issue, though, you picked the wrong mutant to hunt, and no one knows this better than a Predator. After their first encounter in the Canadian wilderness, Wolverine thought he had moved on to new fights, worse wounds, and tragedies he only wants to forget. But the Jota does not forget an enemy at a time when Logan barely knows his own name and is running Black Ops side by side with Sabretooth and Maverick as Team X. How can he make it through round two with a Predator he doesn't even remember fighting? Plus, the first glimpse at Weapon X. So, yeah, we are, like I said, we are traveling through the stories in time. The first issue had a framing device of maybe their most recent story, but bringing in Ken Lashley and Andrea DeVito to do some of the art duties here, it just makes perfect sense. Both of those artists are fantastic at. They really are good at what they do, and what they do is just draw some bloody good comics. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. Here we can see the present timeline in Canada as they are currently fighting. As you may remember from issue #1, as always, big explosions, a lot of blood splattering all over the place. Uh, and yeah, here comes the Predator, right? Taking advantage. Now, we don't have any preview art for the Team X stuff that we saw at the end of the first issue, but I'm very excited to get into that because it's not one Predator, it's multiple Predators against this Team X. And of course, Team X is a bunch of mutants with healing abilities. So, like, that fight is definitely at least going to take a while. So, very excited for this one. I'll definitely be talking about this more once I get a chance to read it. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.